The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, a massive ring of metal and glass that caught the light of 3 distant stars. Inside, representatives from 47 different species gathered around a circular table that stretched nearly 100 meters across. The air hummed with dozens of translation devices, turning clicks, whistles, and vibrations into words everyone could understand. Daiho stood near the entrance, his hands clasped behind his back. He wore a simple gray suit that looked plain compared to the flowing robes and glittering armor of the other delegates. Next to him, Mirai shifted her weight from foot to foot, her eyes bright with excitement. She carried a datapad covered in notes about Earth's biology, ready to answer any questions. "They're about to call us," Mirai whispered. "Are you nervous?" Daiho smiled slightly. "No. Should I be?" Before Mirai could answer, a deep voice echoed through the chamber. "We now call forward the representatives from Earth, the humans." They walked to the center of the room, every eye turned toward them. Some of those eyes were large and black, others were compound like an insect's, and a few glowed with their own light. Daiho had stopped feeling uncomfortable about being stared at weeks ago. At the head of the table sat Velthar, a being covered in silver feathers with a sharp beak and wings that folded against his back. He was the head scholar of the council, responsible for reviewing all new species applications. Next to him sat Quinn, whose body looked like a mantis made of blue crystal. Quinn was the council's historian, keeper of 10,000 years of galactic records. "Welcome," Velthar said, his beak clicking with each word. "We have reviewed your application for membership in the Galactic Council. Your technology is adequate. Your culture shows promise. However, there are some concerns about your world of origin." Daiho nodded. "We're happy to address any questions." Quinn leaned forward, his crystal body reflecting rainbow light. "Your planet is listed in our old records, very old records, from before the council was even formed." "That's correct," Mirai said. "Earth has been documented before." "The records call it a Category 12 Deathworld," Quinn continued. Several delegates around the table made sounds that the translators interpreted as laughter, the highest danger classification possible. More laughter rippled through the chamber. A blob-like delegate named Soren actually bounced in his seat with amusement. "A Deathworld. Those are children's stories." Velthar held up one wing for silence, though his eyes showed amusement too. "The ancient texts describe impossible conditions. They claim your world has gravity strong enough to crush bone, predators that hunt in complete darkness, plants that strangle and poison, storms that can destroy entire settlements. They say, the very air is toxic," another delegate added, "a being made of flowing water held together by a containment field, that your sky catches fire and throws spears of pure energy at the ground." The chamber filled with more laughter. Even serious delegates smiled or made their species-equivalent gesture of disbelief. Daiho and Mirai stood quietly, waiting for the laughter to die down. They had expected this reaction. Every species humanity had met so far had the same response when they learned about Earth. "Surely," Velthar said, still sounding amused. "You don't expect us to believe such ridiculous stories? These tales were written thousands of years ago to frighten young ones into behaving. Be good or we'll send you to the death world." He made a sound like laughter. "Every culture has such myths." "We understand your skepticism," Daiho said calmly. "The descriptions do sound extreme." "Extreme?" Soren bounced again. "They're impossible. No world could support life under such conditions, and even if it did, no intelligent species could possibly evolve there. They would be crushed, poisoned, or eaten long before developing civilization." Mirai's smile grew wider, though she tried to hide it. Daiho caught her eye and gave a tiny shake of his head. "Not yet." "The ancient texts also claim," Quinn said, pulling up a holographic display, "that your world is 70% covered in a toxic liquid that dissolves flesh. That this liquid is so dangerous, drinking it causes death within days." "Salt water," Mirai said. "The ocean is salty. You can't drink it, but it's not exactly toxic." "And they say your world has massive predators in this ocean," Quinn continued. "Creatures with hundreds of teeth that can smell blood from kilometers away." "Sharks," Mirai confirmed. though they're not really as dangerous as stories make them sound. The delegates found this hilarious. Velthar's whole body shook with laughter. Not dangerous. The myths describe them as perfect killing machines that have existed unchanged for millions of years. Well, Mireille said carefully, that part is actually true. The laughter stopped. Velthar stared at her. You're joking. Sharks have been around for about 400 million years, Mireille explained. They're very good at what they do, so evolution didn't need to change them much. Uncomfortable silence filled the chamber. Several delegates checked their own datapads as if trying to verify whether Mireille was telling the truth. Velthar recovered first. Even if some of these claims have a grain of truth, they're clearly exaggerated. The texts describe weather phenomena that would require impossible amounts of energy. Winds that move faster than sound. Water falling from the sky with such force it damages structures. Hurricanes and hailstorms, Deho said simply. They happen seasonally in certain regions. Impossible, declared a reptilian delegate named Thos. Our homeworld occasionally has light precipitation, gentle rain that falls slowly and waters our crops. But violent water from the sky, winds that destroy buildings, such conditions would make civilization impossible to develop. And yet, Mireille said quietly, we developed civilization anyway. The delegates looked at each other. Some of their confident amusement was fading, replaced by confusion. Quinn pulled up more ancient texts. These records also mention that your world's inhabitants regularly fight each other. That violence is common. That you have entire categories of your population trained specifically for combat. Every species has conflict, Velthar added quickly. But organized violence, training for war, that's barbaric. Surely that's another exaggeration. Deho said nothing. His expression remained neutral. The texts claim, Quinn continued, his voice uncertain now, that humans pursue dangerous activities voluntarily, that they climb tall structures and throw themselves from heights, that they deliberately enter areas filled with predators, that they consume toxic substances for enjoyment. Well, Mireille said, glancing at Deho, we do have sports and hiking. Some people do like spicy food and alcohol. This is absurd, Velthar said, but his tone had changed. He no longer sounded amused. He sounded worried. You're telling us that these ancient myths, stories we use to frighten children, are actually accurate descriptions of your world? Deho finally allowed himself a small smile. Not entirely accurate, no. Some of them are understatements. The chamber fell completely silent. 47 species stared at two humans standing calmly in the center of the room. Perhaps, Deho continued, a scientific expedition would satisfy your curiosity? We'd be happy to host council representatives on Earth. You could verify these claims for yourselves. Velthar's feathers ruffled. You would allow us to visit this death world? Of course, Mireille said brightly. We'd love to show you our home. Spring is a beautiful season. Very mild weather. Perfect for visitors. Quinn and Velthar exchanged long looks. Around the table, delegates whispered to each other through their translators. Finally, Velthar spoke. Very well. The council accepts your invitation. We will send an expedition to Earth. When your death world myths are proven false, humanity will be welcomed into the council with apologies for doubting you. And if they're proven true? Deho asked. Velthar's beak clicked in what might have been a laugh. Then I suppose we'll have bigger concerns than membership applications. The session ended. Deho and Mireille walked back through the corridors of the station toward their quarters. Neither spoke until they were alone. They have no idea, Mireille said. No, Deho agreed. They really don't. Should we warn them? Prepare them better? Deho shook his head. We tried. They thought we were exaggerating. Some things you just have to experience yourself. Mireille grinned. This is going to be interesting. Very interesting, Deho said. Then he pulled out his communicator and began typing a message to Earth. I should probably tell them to hide the Australian wildlife, at least at first. Don't want to scare our guests too badly. Good idea, Mireille said. Save the spiders for day 3. The shuttle broke through Earth's atmosphere with a gentle shudder. Inside, 12 council delegates sat strapped into specially designed seats, their various body types accommodated by adaptive cushioning and restraints. Velthar gripped his armrest tightly, his silver feathers pressed flat against his body. Quinn's crystal segments had dimmed to a dull blue, a sign of stress in his species. The gravity is increasing, Quinn said, his voice strained even through the translator. We're not even in full Earth gravity yet, said Jinho from the pilot's seat. He was a broad-shouldered man in his 40s with kind eyes and rough hands. Your suits will compensate. You won't even notice. That was a lie, and everyone knew it within 5 minutes of landing. The shuttle touched down in a clearing surrounded by green trees. The humans had chosen a location in what they called Oregon, a temperate region with mild spring weather. Through the windows, the delegates could see tall trees swaying in a breeze, grass covering the ground, and a bright blue sky with scattered white clouds. It's beautiful, admitted Soren, the blob-like delegate. Not at all what I expected from a death world. Wait until you step outside, said Soman, the medical officer assigned to the expedition. She was a short woman with sharp eyes and quick movements. Her medical bag hung ready at her side. The shuttle door opened. The delegates stood up to leave, and immediately several of them stumbled. Felthar's wings spread for balance. Quinn's legs wobbled. Even with their gravity compensation suits, the weight of Earth pulled at them. Take your time, Jinho said, walking down the ramp with easy confidence. Let your suits adjust. The first few minutes are always the hardest. One by one, the delegates made their way down the ramp and onto Earth's surface. The gravity fought them with every step. Muscles that had never worked this hard struggled against the pull. Thos, the reptilian delegate, actually fell to his knees. How do you live like this? Thos gasped. This pressure is crushing. You get used to it, Jinho said, reaching down to help Thos stand. His movements were smooth and effortless. We're born in it. Our muscles develop differently. Our bones are denser. This is normal gravity for you? Velthar asked, taking small, careful steps. You feel this every moment of every day? Since birth, Jinho confirmed. Come on. Our camp is just a short walk from here. Maybe 2 kilometers. On their homeworld, such a distance would be a pleasant stroll. Here it felt like climbing a mountain. By the time they reached the camp, a collection of tents and equipment in a larger clearing, every delegate was exhausted. Several collapsed into chairs. Soman moved among them, checking vital signs and adjusting their suits. We'll rest here, Jinho said. Then I thought we'd take a gentle hike through the forest. Nothing strenuous, just a chance to see Earth's nature up close. After an hour of rest and hydration, the group set out. Jinho led them onto a trail that wound between massive trees. The delegates looked up in wonder at the towering trunks that stretched 30 meters into the air. These are Douglas firs, Jinho explained. These particular trees are about 200 years old. 200 years? Quinn said. And they're still growing? They can live for over 1,000 years in the right conditions, Jinho said. Some of Earth's trees are even older. We have bristlecone pines that have lived for 5,000 years. The delegates absorbed this information in silence. On most of their worlds, the longest living organisms rarely exceeded a few decades. They walked deeper into the forest. Birds called from the branches above. Insects buzzed through the air. Everything was alive, moving, making noise. The delegates jumped at every sound. What was that? Soren asked, his blob form quivering. A squirrel, Jinho said, pointing at a small furry creature climbing a tree trunk. Harmless. They eat nuts and seeds. The delegates relaxed slightly. Then the squirrel opened its mouth, showing tiny sharp teeth, and made a chattering sound like an alarm. Why does it have teeth if it eats nuts? Velthar asked suspiciously. Everything on Earth has teeth, Jinho said simply. Or claws or venom. Or something. That's just how evolution works here. They continued walking. The trail opened into a meadow where the grass grew waist-high. In the distance, a large brown animal lifted its head to look at them. Beautiful, breathed Quinn, his body brightening with wonder. What is it? A deer, Jinho said. A female, probably about 3 years old. The deer watched them for a moment, her large ears rotating to catch sounds. Then she went back to eating grass, apparently unconcerned by their presence. See? Velthar said, some confidence returning to his voice. Peaceful herbivores. Not everything on Earth is dangerous. Herbivore, yes, Jinho agreed. Peaceful mostly. though bucks can be aggressive during mating season, and does will attack if you threaten their young. Those hooves can break bones. The delegate stepped back nervously. But you said it's a prey animal? Quinn asked. Correct. Prey for what? As if in answer, a long howl echoed through the forest. Then another joined it, then another. The hair on the back of every delegate's neck stood up. Those who had hair anyway. Wolves, Jinho said calmly. Gray wolves. They hunt in packs, usually 5 to 10 individuals. They coordinate their attacks, separate the young or weak from the herd, and take them down together. Coordinate? Velthar's voice rose. You're telling me your predators use tactics? Most of Earth's predators use some form of strategy, Jinho said. Wolves, lions, killer whales, even some spiders. Intelligence helps survival. The howling came again, closer now. The deer's head snapped up, her ears forward, and then she bounded away in huge leaps that covered 10 meters each. Back to camp, Jinho said. The wolves aren't likely to bother us, but let's not take chances. The walk back was faster despite the gravity. Fear made excellent motivation. By the time they reached camp, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and red. That's quite a beautiful sunset, Soren said, trying to find something positive about the experience. Atmospheric scattering, Soman explained, the same phenomenon that makes our sky blue. Light refracting through air molecules. As darkness fell, Jinho started a fire. The delegates gathered around it gratefully, exhausted from their walk. In the old texts, Quinn said quietly, they mentioned creatures that hunt in darkness. That was just a myth, yes? Jinho looked into the fire. Lots of things hunt at night on Earth. Owls, bats, big cats. Wolves, actually. They're most active at dawn and dusk. Most predators have excellent night vision. And humans? Velthar asked. Our night vision is okay, Jinho admitted. Not as good as a cat's, but better than you'd think. We evolved to be adaptable, hunt during the day, defend ourselves at night, survive in lots of different environments. Something buzzed near Soren's head. He swatted at it. The buzzing grew louder as more small flying things gathered around the camp, attracted by the fire and the warmth of living bodies. What are these? Soren demanded, swatting continuously. Mosquitoes, Soman said, spraying something from a can that made the insects disperse temporarily. Females, specifically. They drink blood to get protein for their eggs. The delegate stared at her in horror. Blood? Thus whispered. Flying creatures that drink blood. They're not dangerous, Soman assured them. Just annoying. They carry diseases sometimes, but your suits should protect you. Should? Velthar repeated. Will, Soman corrected. Will protect you. More insects buzzed in the darkness. Moths fluttered around the fire. Something with 6 legs and large pincers crawled across the ground near Quinn's feet. He jumped back with a sound like breaking glass. Just a beetle, Jinho said. Harmless. Everything you say is harmless, shows teeth or drinks blood or has pincers, Quinn said, his voice shaking. Thunder rumbled in the distance. The delegates looked up at the sky where clouds had gathered to cover the stars. Is that what I think it is? Velthar asked. Storm coming, Jinho confirmed. Small one. Should pass by morning. Should we take shelter? Thos asked nervously. We're in shelter, Jinho said, gesturing at the tents. These are designed for Earth weather. You'll be fine. The rain started an hour later. First a few drops, then a steady pour, then a downpour that hammered on the tent fabric like drums. Lightning flashed, turning night into day for split seconds. Thunder crashed so loud it vibrated in their chests. Soman moved through the tents, checking on delegates. She found 3 of them huddled together, shaking. 2 more had medical alarms going off on their suits, panic responses. Velthar sat upright, his eyes wide, his feathers standing on end. It's just rain, Soman said gently. Just water falling from the sky. Just? Velthar's voice cracked. That lightning, the energy in those strikes did about 1 billion volts, Soman said. Give or take. Velthar made a sound like a whimper. The storm lasted 3 hours. By the time morning came, pale and gray through lingering clouds, the delegates looked like they hadn't slept at all. Most hadn't. Jinho emerged from his tent looking refreshed and cheerful. Morning. Sleep well? Nobody answered. Good news, Jinho continued. The storm cleared the air. Perfect day for hiking. I thought we'd visit the river, maybe see some fish. After breakfast, of course. Fish? Quinn asked weakly. Sure. Salmon, probably. Maybe a trout or 2. Do they have teeth? Oh yes, Jinho said. Everything has teeth. The expedition had been on Earth for 2 weeks, and Velthar's detailed report now contained 47 pages of confirmed dangers. He reviewed it on his datapad while the transport vehicle carried them toward the coast. Every few minutes he added another entry. Stinging nettles, he muttered, typing quickly. Plants that cause pain on contact confirmed. Also poison ivy, poison oak, and poison sumac, Jinho called from the driver's seat. Don't touch anything without asking first. Velthar added 3 more entries. Next to him, Quinn stared out the window at the passing landscape. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks covered in white. That's frozen water on top of those peaks? He asked. Snow, confirmed Hyejin, the marine biologist who had joined them for the ocean portion of the expedition. She was a slim woman with sun-darkened skin and laugh lines around her eyes. The temperature drops below freezing at high altitudes. Water freezes solid. And people climb those mountains? Voluntarily? All the time, Hyejin said. Some people make it their hobby. The tallest one, Mount Everest, has killed about 300 climbers over the years. People still line up to try. Why? Quinn's confusion was evident even through his translator. Because it's there, Jinho said, quoting an old Earth saying. Humans like challenges. Humans like dying, Velthar muttered, typing more notes. The vehicle reached the coast by midday. The delegates emerged onto a sandy beach where waves crashed against the shore with rhythmic booming sounds. The ocean stretched to the horizon, blue-green and vast beyond comprehension. 70% of Earth's surface, Hyejin said, gesturing at the water. 361 million square kilometers of ocean. Average depth about 3,700 meters. The delegates approached the water cautiously. Soren extended a small probe from his body and touched the water. He jerked back immediately. Salt, he exclaimed. The texts were right. The ocean is full of salt. About 35 grams per liter, Hyejin confirmed. Drinking it causes dehydration and eventual death. That's why coastal settlements need freshwater sources or desalination plants. But life exists in this toxic water? Thos asked, staring at the waves. Oh yes, more life than on land, actually. The ocean contains about 80% of Earth's biomass. Everything from microscopic plankton to the largest animals that have ever existed. Larger than land animals? Velthar asked nervously. Much larger. Blue whales can grow to 30 meters long and weigh 200 tons. Their hearts are the size of a small vehicle. Their arteries are wide enough for a human child to swim through. The delegates processed this information in silence. We're going into that water? Soren asked finally. Just 20 meters down, Hyejin said cheerfully. Very shallow, very safe. You'll love it. The submarine was a sleek vehicle designed for research and tourism. The delegates boarded reluctantly, their suits already struggling with the humidity and salt in the air. Hyejin piloted them away from shore and submerged smoothly beneath the waves. Sunlight filtered down through the water, creating shifting patterns of blue and green. Fish swam past the viewing windows, small colorful ones in groups, larger solitary ones cruising by. The delegates began to relax slightly. This wasn't so bad. This was almost peaceful. Then the shark appeared. It was a great white, about 4 meters long, its gray body moving with fluid grace through the water. Its black eyes reflected no emotion. Its mouth hung slightly open, revealing rows of triangular teeth. 3 delegates screamed. Soren actually tried to climb the wall. Thos fainted, his translator emitting a high-pitched whine. Beautiful specimen, Hyejin said, seemingly unaware of the panic behind her. Probably a juvenile male, maybe 10 years old. See how he's investigating us. He's curious. It has so many teeth, Quinn whispered, his body pulsing with distressed light. Several rows, Hyejin confirmed. When one tooth falls out, another moves forward to replace it. They go through thousands of teeth in their lifetime. And yes, they can smell blood from several kilometers away. That part of the ancient text was accurate. The shark circled the submarine once, twice, then swam away into the deeper blue. It took 15 minutes before anyone could speak again. That was one predator, Velthar said shakily. Surely not everything in the ocean is like that. Well, there are also orcas, killer whales. They hunt in packs and have been known to attack sharks. And giant squids in the deep water with tentacles covered in toothed suckers. And barracudas and moray eels and venomous jellyfish and stonefish that blend into rocks and have venom that can kill in hours and... Stop, Velthar said weakly. Please stop. When they returned to shore, Somen was waiting with medical equipment. She treated 4 delegates for shock and 3 more for severe anxiety. 2 had developed stress-induced symptoms that required medication. "Are you sure you want to continue?" someone asked Velthar privately. "We can end the expedition now." "No one would blame you." Velthar's feathers ruffled with determination. "No, the council sent us to verify the ancient texts. We will complete our mission." "What's next?" "Desert," Selman said. "Tomorrow." The desert was worse. Junho, the climatologist, met them at the edge of a place called Death Valley. He was an older man with skin weathered by years of fieldwork and eyes that squinted permanently from sun exposure. "Welcome to one of the hottest places on Earth," he said. "The record temperature here is 56.7 degrees Celsius. In summer, the ground can reach 93 degrees. "That's hot enough to cook food," Quinn said. "Yes," Junho agreed, "which is why humans invented something called frying an egg on the sidewalk. We do it for fun sometimes." The daytime heat was brutal even with environmental suits. The delegates could only spend 30 minutes outside before they had to retreat to the air-conditioned vehicle. That night, the temperature dropped 40 degrees and they shivered in their seats. "This is normal?" Velthar asked through chattering teeth. "For deserts, yes," Junho said. "No humidity to hold heat. No clouds to trap warmth. Temperature swings are extreme. Organisms here have to survive both extremes." "How?" Thos asked. "How does anything survive?" "Adaptation," Junho said. He showed them pictures of desert animals. Scorpions that could go a year without food. Lizards that stored fat in their tails. Rats that never drank water, getting all their moisture from seeds. Snakes that moved sideways across hot sand and could strike faster than the eye could follow. "Every environment is like this?" Quinn asked quietly. "Every part of Earth demands such extreme adaptation?" "Every environment has its challenges," Junho confirmed. "That's what makes Earth so diverse. The organisms that survive are the ones that find ways to deal with whatever their environment throws at them." The rainforest was a nightmare of a different kind. Sujin, their guide through the Amazon, was a biologist who specialized in tropical ecosystems. She led them along narrow paths where the canopy above blocked most of the sunlight. Everything was green and growing. The air was thick with moisture and the smell of rot and growth happening simultaneously. "This is the most biologically diverse place on Earth," Sujin explained. "More species in 1 hectare here than in entire countries elsewhere. Competition for resources is intense." She showed them a strangler fig, a plant that grew around a host tree and eventually killed it. Army ants that moved in columns millions strong, eating everything in their path. Poison dart frogs whose skin secretions could kill a human. Parasitic wasps that laid eggs inside other insects, their young eating the host alive from the inside. "Everything here is either eating something else or trying not to be eaten," Sujin said. "That's the basic rule of Earth ecology." Velthar sat down on a fallen log and put his head in his wings. "I can't," he said. "I can't process this anymore. Every plant is poisonous. Every animal is venomous or has teeth or lays eggs in other animals. The very air is trying to grow mold in our suits." "That's accurate," Sujin said. "The humidity and temperature make this an ideal environment for bacteria and fungi. Life here is very aggressive." "How did humans ever develop civilization in these conditions?" Quinn asked. "How did you have time to invent agriculture and cities and technology when everything was trying to kill you?" "We didn't have time," Sujin said thoughtfully. "We made time. We fought back. We learned which plants were safe and which were poisonous, usually by someone dying. We learned to treat venomous bites and bacterial infections. We built shelters and made tools and created fire to keep predators away. Every step of human development involved overcoming something that could kill us. The mountain expedition was the final test. Minseo, their guide, was a professional climber who had summited peaks on 6 continents. She led them up a mountain that was considered easy by Earth standards, only 4,000 meters high with a well-marked trail. At 2,000 meters, several delegates needed supplemental oxygen. At 3,000 meters, all of them did. Their suits worked overtime to compensate for the thin air. Humans walked among them, breathing normally, occasionally pausing to admire the view. "You're not even breathing hard," Velthar said to Minseo, gasping through his oxygen mask. "I'm adapted to altitude," Minseo said. "Born in a high-altitude region. My blood carries oxygen more efficiently, but any human can adapt given time. Your bodies produce more red blood cells at altitude. It takes a few weeks, but it happens." The expedition was scheduled to depart Earth in 3 days. The delegates had seen enough. More than enough. Velthar's report had grown to 137 pages. Quinn had documented 843 separate species, 90% of which had some form of natural weapon or defense mechanism. Even Soren, usually optimistic, had developed what Soman described as persistent Earth-related anxiety. They had gathered at a research outpost in Oklahoma and the Central Plains of North America to collect their equipment and prepare for departure. The outpost was a cluster of low buildings designed to withstand the region's notorious weather. Around them, flat grassland stretched to the horizon in every direction. At least here there are no mountains to climb or oceans to dive into, Thos said, looking out the window at the peaceful landscape. Just flat ground and grass. What could possibly be dangerous about this? Seokjin, the meteorologist assigned to the outpost, looked up from his computer displays. You haven't experienced plains weather yet. This is tornado season. Tornado? Quinn asked. Rotating column of air, Seokjin explained, pulling up images on the main screen. Wind speeds can exceed 500 kilometers per hour. They form from supercell thunderstorms and can destroy everything in their path. The delegates stared at the images of debris-filled funnels touching down from dark clouds. How often do these occur? Velthar asked carefully. In this region? About 1,000 times per year. Per year? Soren's blob body quivered. And people live here? Millions of people, Seokjin confirmed. We've learned to build structures that can withstand them, or at least provide safe shelter. And we have early warning systems. I monitor weather patterns for exactly this reason. As if summoned by his words, an alarm began beeping on Seokjin's console. He leaned forward, studying the data flowing across his screens. Interesting, he muttered. Very interesting. What's interesting? Velthar asked, not sure he wanted to know the answer. Large supercell forming about 100 kilometers west of here. It's organizing quickly. Rotation is increasing. This could produce a significant tornado. Could? Quinn asked hopefully. Will, Seokjin corrected, typing rapidly. Definitely will. Question is how strong and where it'll touch down. He looked up at the delegates. We should probably evacuate everyone to the shelter. Just a precaution. Yuna, the emergency coordinator, was already moving through the outpost organizing the evacuation. She was a calm woman in her 50s who had managed disasters for 20 years. Nothing seemed to rattle her. Underground shelter can hold everyone comfortably, she said, checking off names on her tablet. We have supplies for 3 days if needed, though the storm will pass long before then. Everyone gather your essential items and proceed to the shelter entrance in an orderly fashion. Should we load our equipment onto the shuttle? Velthar asked. Evacuate completely? Too late, Seokjin said, watching his displays. Storm's moving faster than predicted. We have maybe 20 minutes before conditions become too dangerous for shuttle launch. Better to shelter here. 20 minutes? Velthar's voice rose. You said the storm was 100 kilometers away. It's moving at about 90 kilometers per hour, Seokjin explained. Supercells don't follow normal weather patterns. They create their own wind systems. Come on, let's get below. The shelter was a reinforced concrete bunker dug 3 stories underground. Thick metal doors sealed them inside. Emergency lights cast everything in harsh white illumination. The delegates huddled together in the main chamber, while humans moved around them with practiced efficiency, checking systems and supplies. How bad will it be? Quinn asked Yuna. Hard to say yet. Could be anywhere from EF0 to EF5 on the enhanced Fujita scale. What's the difference? EF0 is minor damage, torn shingles, broken branches. EF5 is total devastation. Buildings completely destroyed, vehicles thrown hundreds of meters, trees debarked by debris. And you don't know which we'll get? Not until it hits, Yuna said calmly. But this shelter is rated for EF5. We'll be safe here. A rumble echoed through the shelter. Thunder, but deeper and louder than anything the delegates had heard before. The lights flickered. Backup generators just kicked in, Yuna said. That's normal. Main power lines are probably down. Seokjin was watching a display showing weather data transmitted from surface sensors. Tornado is on the ground, 3 kilometers southwest and moving toward us. Looks like EF4 intensity, maybe stronger. Wind speed? Yuna asked. Sustained winds 280 kilometers per hour. Gusts higher. It's a beast, another rumble, louder this time. The whole shelter vibrated. Dust fell from the ceiling. The delegates huddled closer together. Even the humans looked tense now. The sound grew. It started as a distant roar like a waterfall or a massive engine. Then it became louder, louder. It filled the shelter, drowning out conversation, drowning out thought. It sounded like a freight train, like a jet engine, like the world ending. The shelter shook. Metal groaned. Concrete creaked. The lights flickered again, and for a moment they were in darkness, broken only by emergency strips. The sound was so loud that Velthar could feel it in his bones, in his beak, in every feather. Soren was making a high-pitched keening sound. Thos had his eyes closed and was muttering what might have been prayers. Quinn's crystal body had gone completely dark, retreated into some form of protective shutdown. And the humans? Sokjin was still watching his displays, calling out data. Yuna was checking that everyone was secure, her voice calm even when she had to shout over the noise. Jinho had his arms around two of the smaller delegates, protecting them instinctively. The storm lasted 7 minutes. 7 minutes of sound like the world being torn apart. 7 minutes of shaking and groaning and the certain knowledge that death was happening above them, that everything was being destroyed. Then, slowly, the sound began to fade. The shaking decreased. The roar became a rumble, then a distant echo, then silence broken only by the hum of the generators. "It's past," Seokjin announced, tornado continuing northeast. "We're in the clear." Nobody moved. The delegates sat frozen, traumatized by what they'd just experienced. Yuna moved among them, checking for injuries, physical and psychological. "We'll stay down here another hour," she said. "Let the storm system move completely through. Then we'll assess surface damage." "Surface damage," Belthar repeated numbly. "What's left to damage?" "Probably quite a bit," Yuna said. "These shelters work. That's why we build them." When they finally emerged, the devastation was total. The research outpost was gone. Not damaged, gone. The buildings had been reduced to scattered debris. Their shuttle had been picked up and thrown 300 meters where it lay crumpled like a discarded toy. Trees were stripped bare, their trunks snapped like twigs. The ground was scoured clean in a path 50 meters wide that stretched to the horizon in both directions. And in the middle of it all, the humans were already working. They'd brought up equipment from the shelter and were setting up communication arrays, taking damage assessments, organizing recovery operations. "How?" Thos asked, staring at the destruction. "How can you just keep going? Your home is destroyed." "Buildings can be rebuilt," Yuna said, typing on her tablet. "Everyone's safe. That's what matters. We've dealt with tornadoes before. We'll deal with them again." "This happens regularly," Veltar said, his voice flat with shock. "You told us 1,000 tornadoes per year in this region, and you just live with it?" "We prepare for it," Yuna corrected. "We build shelters. We have warning systems. We have procedures. Humans are good at dealing with predictable dangers." "Predictable?" Velthar's voice rose. "You predicted that destruction? That sound? That fury?" "Yes," Seokjin said, joining them. He pulled up his tablet, showing the data he'd collected. Radar showed the signature. Rotation velocities indicated EF4 potential. Wind speeds matched predictions. Everything happened pretty much as the model suggested. "You knew that was coming," Quinn said slowly, his body beginning to show color again. "You knew and you stayed calm. You led us to safety. You protected us." "Of course," Jinho said, looking surprised. "That's what people do. When danger comes, you protect those who need protection. You stay calm so others can stay calm. You do your job." Daiho and Mirai arrived by helicopter 3 hours later, landing in the cleared area where the outpost used to stand. They climbed out and surveyed the damage with experienced eyes. "EF4? Daiho asked Yuna. "Strong EF4, almost EF5, she confirmed. "Everyone's safe. Shuttle's a loss, though." "We'll arrange transport," Mirai said. She looked at the delegates who were still staring at the destruction in various states of shock. "I think you've seen enough." "Enough," Velthar agreed quietly. "More than enough." That night, sheltering in temporary structures brought by the relief team, Velthar sat with his datapad and added a final section to his report. The ancient texts called Earth a death world, he wrote. They spoke of impossible conditions, of weather that destroys, of challenges that no species should survive. Every word was true. Every warning was accurate. And yet humans do more than survive here, they thrive. They build civilizations in the paths of these storms. They raise children under skies that throw lightning. They live on the slopes of volcanoes and the edges of deserts, and the shores of oceans filled with predators. 3 months had passed since the expedition returned from Earth. 3 months of analysis, debate, and quiet horror as the Galactic Council absorbed what had been discovered. The ancient texts that had been dismissed as children's stories were now required reading for anyone dealing with human affairs. Velthar's 137-page report had become the most downloaded document in Council history. The Council chamber looked the same as it had when humanity first applied for membership. The same circular table, the same 47 species represented, the same view of 3 distant stars through the windows. But everything felt different now. Velthar stood at the center podium, his silver feathers catching the light. He no longer looked at humans with amusement. His gaze held something closer to awe mixed with healthy fear. "We have completed our review of humanity's membership application," he began, his voice carrying through the translation systems. "Our expedition to Earth confirmed the accuracy of ancient records regarding what we now know is designated as a Category 12 Deathworld." The chamber was silent. No laughter this time. No mocking voices suggesting the texts were myths. "I will present our key findings," Velthar continued. He activated the holographic display, and images from Earth filled the air above the table. First, gravity. Earth's gravity is 100% confirmed to be capable of crushing the skeletal structures of 73% of known species. Humans are born in this gravity. Their bones are significantly denser than any comparable species. Their muscles operate under constant load. What they consider normal movement would be extreme exercise for most of us. He changed the image to show various Earth predators: sharks, wolves, bears, tigers, lions. Second, predation. Earth contains approximately 15,000 species of carnivorous animals. Many hunt in coordinated packs using tactical thinking. Humans evolved alongside these predators. They learned to hunt them, to defend against them, and eventually to dominate them through intelligence and tool use. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Quinn rose from his seat, his crystal body flashing with reflected light. "I would like to add context," Quinn said. "In researching Earth's history, I discovered that humans have been the prey species for multiple predators. They have been hunted by large cats, bears, crocodilians, and even other primates. They survived by developing complex social structures, advanced communication, and increasingly sophisticated tools. They went from being hunted to becoming Earth's apex predator in an evolutionary eye blink." Soren bounced nervously in his seat. "What about the plants?" "The text mentioned poisonous plants." "Confirmed," Velthar said. "Earth contains approximately 750,000 species of plants. Of those, roughly 50,000 have toxic properties. Humans learned to identify them through trial and error, which means they learned by dying. They passed this knowledge through generations using oral traditions before developing written language." He changed the image again, showing storms, hurricanes, tornadoes, lightning. Third, weather. Earth's weather systems are powered by extreme temperature differentials and the planet's rapid rotation. The energy contained in a single large hurricane exceeds the total power output of several council member civilizations. Humans build cities in the paths of these storms. They have developed warning systems and shelter protocols. When their homes are destroyed, they rebuild them. "Why?" asked Thos, the reptilian delegate who had fainted at the sight of the shark. "Why not simply move to safer regions?" Tyjan, the senior human ambassador, rose to answer. He was an older man with gray hair and calm eyes that had witnessed decades of diplomatic negotiations. "Because every region of Earth has dangers," Tejun said simply. "The question is not whether a place is dangerous, but whether the resources and beauty of that place are worth the risk. Humans choose to live near volcanoes because the soil is fertile. We live in tornado zones because the land is suitable for agriculture. We live on coastlines despite hurricanes because the ocean provides food and transportation. We learned long ago that safety is not the absence of danger, but the presence of preparation." Velthar nodded. "Which brings us to our fourth finding, human psychology. Humans actively seek danger for recreation. They climb mountains, dive into oceans, jump from aircraft, race vehicles at high speeds, and engage in combat sports. When asked why, the common response is that these activities are fun or provide thrills." He pulled up footage from the expedition, videos of human children playing, running, climbing, engaging in mock combat. "They train their young for danger from birth," Velthar continued. "Human children are encouraged to take risks, to test their limits, to learn through minor injuries. This produces adults with exceptional risk assessment abilities and remarkable tolerance for stressful situations. Bora, the human military advisor, had accompanied Tejan to the session. She was a compact woman with sharp eyes and scars visible on her hands. She stood now, adding her perspective. "We call it resilience," Bora said. "Earth taught us that danger is constant. You can't eliminate it, so you learn to function despite it. Our military training, our emergency response systems, our entire social structure, it's all designed around the principle that bad things will happen, and we need to be ready to respond." Quinn activated his own display, showing data he'd compiled. "I've analyzed human history. In the past 5,000 years alone, humans have survived 17 major pandemics, hundreds of volcanic eruptions, thousands of earthquakes, millions of storms, and countless conflicts with each other and with predators. Their population has been reduced to near extinction levels at least twice. And yet they persisted. They adapted. They learned." The chamber absorbed this in silence. Velthar pulled up one final set of images. Fifth finding: human diet. Humans are omnivores who can digest a remarkable range of materials. They regularly consume substances that would be toxic to most species. Capsaicin, the chemical that makes certain plants spicy, triggers pain receptors. Humans eat it voluntarily. Ethanol, a cellular toxin, is consumed recreationally as alcohol. They even consume mildly toxic plants like coffee and tea as daily beverages. "They eat poison for pleasure," Soren said weakly. "I documented this myself. I watched a human eat something called a Carolina Reaper pepper that registered over 2 million Scoville units. The human cried sweat profusely and then said it was delicious. Nervous laughter rippled through the chamber, but it was laughter tinged with fear." Tejan raised his hand. "If I may address the council directly." Velthar yielded the podium. Tejan walked to the center, his movements confident despite the lower gravity of the station. "We understand that our world frightens you," Tejan said. "We understand that the conditions we consider normal seem impossible to species from gentler worlds. We don't share this information to intimidate you. We share it so you can understand who we are and why we are the way we are." He paused, looking around at the assembled delegates. "Earth is harsh. It's cruel. It kills without mercy or meaning. But it's also beautiful. It's full of life. It taught us to be strong, yes, but it also taught us to be compassionate. When disasters strike, humans help each other. When predators threaten, we protect our weak. Our harsh world created a species that values cooperation, that builds communities, that looks after its vulnerable members. You also have extensive experience with violence," Velthar noted carefully. "Your history is full of conflicts." "Yes," Tejan admitted. "We fought each other. We still do sometimes. Earth taught us competition and aggression along with cooperation. But we learned from those mistakes. We built systems to resolve conflicts peacefully. We created laws and governments and international organizations. We're not perfect, but we're trying to be better." Bora stepped forward. "I'm a military advisor because humans understand military thinking. We know tactics and strategy because we had to learn them to survive. But we also know the cost of war. We know what violence does to people and civilizations. We don't want to bring that to the galaxy." "What do you want?" asked a delegate from the back, a being of pure energy contained in a magnetic field. Mirai stood from her seat at the human delegation table. "To share what we've learned. Earth taught us biology, ecology, medicine, engineering, all shaped by the constant pressure to survive. We have knowledge that might help other species, and we want to learn from you. Your peaceful worlds produced cultures and philosophies and arts that we never developed because we were too busy fighting for survival." Deho joined her. "We're not asking the council to fear us. We're asking for understanding. We're different because our world made us different. But different doesn't have to mean dangerous. It can mean complementary. You have strengths we lack. We have strengths you lack. Together we could all benefit." Velthar looked at Quinn. The two of them had spent weeks discussing this moment, debating what recommendation to make. Finally, Velthar activated his voting interface. "The question before the council," Velthar announced, "is whether to grant humanity full membership status. I have 3 recommendations to present. First, Earth will be classified as an interdicted world Class 12. Non-human visitors will require special permits, environmental protection suits, and extensive preparation.